Jim Barron, why don't you kick us off today?
All right. So we're here because you partners wanted to rob and duplicate or R&D from each other. We do this call for you, and we're over 100 people, so thank you for joining us. Skyline Chili, Hard Water, and how many MSPs have ever gotten success with their automation without asking questions? Let's see, I don't know. Is there a Joe on the call? If any Joe can answer, how many MSPs have been successful? Uh-oh, who's a Joe? Okay, I'll take that mute answer as 0. And over to you, Ash.
Try not hide.
Thank you so much, Jim Barron. All right, so now we are going to go and just jump right over into our community updates with our George. I was going to try and figure out a way to make your name sound like Aaron, but I couldn't figure it out. So
no, it's difficult. There's actually 5 Joes on this call, so
and none of them could find their unmute button.
Shame to each and every one. Wow, leaving Jim Barry hanging like that. Okay, community updates. A couple of quick fire ones this week. So as I mentioned last week, our February webinar is up now on the website. We have a great one lined up with Enable and also the guys from Infinity Solutions, great Canadian partner here in Ontario. You guys may know Andrew Nicholson, who's often on these calls, is going to be joining us and walking through how you kind of go from sort of beginner-ish automations to helping scale things and connect things, looking at some sub workflows, all good stuff there. So check that out if you're interested, or come along and support Andrew as well. We've also got an announcement regarding Flow call for speakers. A lot of folks have submitted, so thank you very much for doing that. And yeah, a lot of people asking when the list will be released. We're currently reviewing all of the applications and assessing them, and we will be notifying successful speakers next month in February. I'll also hint that whilst the deadline has been removed, the actual submission form is still open. So if you thought you missed your chance, or you want to throw a Hail Mary last chance submission in, head over to the Flow website, click that call for speakers button, and let us know what you'd like to chat about. Please get that in the door. So yeah, there's still some time if you want to squeeze in a last minute application. And then last but not least, very excited to announce a big survey that we are officially launching today, and we'll be talking more about. You'll be seeing more of this next week on Discord, on social. But Roost is doing a state of MSP automation survey, so I'll drop the link in the chat momentarily. But we're looking to basically ask MSPs what's happening in the world of automation for them, what's important, you know, how you're using your time, what's holding you back, and kind of what sets best in class MSPs apart. So we really value all of your contributions, so we can kind of collect that data and then build and share a report based on the findings that hopefully all of you will find meaningful and interesting. So I will go ahead and drop that link in the chat. It's over in SurveyMonkey, so take a look at that. Let us know your thoughts, share it with your team. Yeah, and let's have no more sad dogs, okay? Because Lisa will come back. She's got all kinds of animal videos to share. So yeah, check it out. That's it from community this week. Back to you, Ashley.
I was just going to say, George, did we accidentally Pavlov's dog the community into not filling out a survey until we show them sad dogs?
I hope not. But we can adjust. Give the people what they want. Maybe it'll be a cat video next time.
So now we are going to jump over to not Janiel this time, but Daniel with an A. You've got our product and updates for us.
So you guys noticed that Jania and Daniel is almost spelled the same. Sorry you have to deal with me. I know everyone wants Jania here instead, but you're stuck with me for this week. Okay, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about what we're working on in general and where our areas of focus are. So the number one area of focus for us right now and for the for the last probably 6 months has been in just improving the performance, stability, reliability of Roost as an application. So there's one thing I'm going to talk to you that's coming up, and you'll get a lot more information on it in the coming days, weeks about this. But the majority of our resources, or most of our resources, are focused on this more than anything else. So we're looking at a whole bunch of things. We've done a bunch of database performance optimizations. For example, we have a lot of context that's stored in our database, and every time a task runs, where there's a lot of I/O into our database. And so we're looking at ways of reducing that load and the context size for each one of those transactions to our database. So we've been doing a lot of things like what's called dehydration, where we're taking a lot of those big JSON columns, a lot of that context, and storing it in more performant places, and then just having kind of pointers there. We've been doing database partitioning. We've been implementing stuff to reduce the effect of some of the spikes that you see at the top of the hour. We're also focusing a lot on just like general ease of use and time to value. I'll show you a little demo of some of the stuff that we're working on for that. But as for what we've delivered this week, you'll notice that we've made a couple of tweaks we've made a tweak to the ConnectWise ASIO setup instructions, which we released last week, and Jania talked about a little bit. We've made a improvement to the ServiceNow integration to make sure that a lot of their tables all their tables are available that you all need. And then we have been working a ton on, and you'll probably notice from our notes from the last few weeks, we are doing a lot of bug fixes and chores and maintenance issues. So there's a whole slew of items that we've been working on, a lot related to integration fixes, and they are all in here. So a couple things that we have coming soon. We have onboarding indicators. So onboarding indicators is a way of helping the onboarding of new partners become more self-serve and less reliant on a human interaction. It's meant to guide you more and kind of point you along in the right direction for how you need to set up your Roost environment, so you can set up those initial crates or get your initial custom workflows built. So quick look at what that looks at. We are going to be piloting this, I believe, over the next starting in the next week or two. But when you first join Roost, you're presented with an optional survey. That optional survey allows you to fill out some information about yourself, so we can kind of customize the experience. So yes, I'm an MSP. I will say I'm gonna do 10 of my tenants first. I use, let's say, Halo. I use, let's say, Ninja. I have Microsoft. So it's just answering a few of the questions relating to your practice. And let's say I'm just going to select some of these at random. And what do I want to start working on? Onboarding. I'm interested in billing, maybe some ticket categorization. Yeah, I'm interested in all these. Let's say I'm not interested in sentiment analysis. Maybe I'm not interested in that one too. Again, this is all optional. It saves your answers as you go. So if you don't want to answer them at that time, you can come back and answer it. And then what it's going to do is it's going to set up a checklist for you and tell you what you need to do, and let you know when it is actually completed. So you have to install and then complete the org mapping. And for 10 organizations, once that is complete, you'll get that checked off. Then you add your customer orgs, setting up org variables, all that fun stuff. And the goal is for us, as quickly as possible, is for you to get org set up to 100% and your crates installed as quickly as possible. So it's a bit more in-app guidance. We're not going to be removing any of the human aspect of it at this point, until we've kind of proved this out and shown hey, this is actually product-led enough where most of our partners are getting through the onboarding experience and finding that value extremely quickly. So this is kind of like the first step of how we're going to improve that time to value. We're also going to be looking at each one of these individual steps to see what's the most difficult to do. So it could be setting up your organization variables. So then we'll focus a lot of our time on how do we improve the organization variable process? How do we improve the Microsoft Cloud Bundle process, setting up your GDAP relationships and all that fun stuff. So that's just some of the work that we're doing. The other thing that I'm just going to mention on here, that's going to be, I wanted to give some heads up on this. We have been looking into different rate limiting. So webhook trigger rate limiting is one thing that really affects our performance. So we can get a lot of webhook triggers in at any given moment. And so we're looking to do some research on like, okay, what are appropriate rate limits per second and per minute, just to see like to get some numbers that we can do some analysis and see, okay, how many of our partners are actually running these or sending us webhooks for a given trigger, let's say more than 30 times in a second, or let's say more than 1,000 times in a minute. So we're doing some analysis on that. So if you have any workflows, I've been reaching out to a few people already, but if you have any workflows that have a trigger that is being triggered dozens of times per second or thousands of times per minute, please feel free to reach out to me in Discord, or you can go through support, and support can direct you to me. And I would love to talk to you about some of your use cases and see, hey, is this a use case that we should support and should take into account, or is this something that we should build differently, and so on and so forth. So please, yeah, let me know if you have any feedback on anything around webhook trigger rate limiting, because that's the first item that we're going to be looking at rolling out. But that is it for me for this week. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Daniel. All right, I was watching that and having the same sentiment as Chris Williams in here. He says, been with Bruce long enough, I feel like I was on hard mode watching the stuff you guys have now. It's crazy to think about the way that everything has been coming together, and that's so intuitive considering some of these things, which is wild. Also on that same point, as everybody heard Daniel say earlier, if they were on the call enough time, we don't have Jesse today. He is at home being a first-time dad. So we're going to be able to congratulate him when we see him again. But also speaking of the new, we have a new person who is going to be introducing themselves to you here doing the marketplace update. Joe is a member of our automation strategist team. So Joe, why don't you come tell us a little bit about yourself and give us our marketplace update.
Sure. Hi, thanks. First time caller, long time listener. So a little bit about myself. I was a math and STEM teacher for quite a while before I transitioned to automation several years ago. I don't meow as well as Jesse, and I have a striking resemblance to a Weasley twin. So it's a little bit about me. And I'll be giving you an update today. So let's go ahead and share my screen. So we've got 2 new crates out. So we have our traveling employee CA policy crate. And just as a reminder, this allows you to, as the name suggests, manage your traveling employees and their access via form to adjust conditional access policies automatically upon their return, departure and return dates. So we're going to actually get a little demo of this, I believe, after I speak. So you'll get to see a little bit more of that. We also have our Roost Microsoft GDAP Assistant Crate, and this will enable you to configure or review your existing Roost GDAP setup for all Microsoft CSP customers. So check those out. We also have some bug fixes and chores that we put out recently. So we've got a deprecated licensing download endpoint that we replaced with a template and removed endpoints and updated all references to that. As usual, we have some updates to Microsoft user onboarding. You added some expanded ISO 3166 country code data, and there's a workflow to go ahead and look those up. If you have one value, it will find the others and apply those. Just some updated device name field logic, some validation to SQL integration. And then we've got some added functionality to this deprecated crate to support those using legacy versions. Got a little bit extra logging here in this sub workflow that's used by quite a few other workflows. And last but not least, we've got a conditional access policy assistant crate coming soon. So be on the lookout for that. Thanks.
Thank you very much. All right, so now we are going to have John Michael, I believe. Are you the one that's going to be giving this demo?
Yep. So I'm going to demo traveling employee CA policy crate. There. So this is the main workflow for the crate. The traveling employee CA policy crate automates the conditional access management for employees traveling outside of your trusted locations. This crate supports concurrent overlapping travel requests with multiple users and multiple destinations. So for this crate, as you can see, we have 4 triggers, one of which is a cron and the other are form submissions. So let's get into the setup form first. So for this form, you simply select the org that you want to set up, and then we have the baseline block policies. So you select here all the policies that may block a traveling user. So what it does is when a user is traveling, they will get excluded to the policies that you select here. This is also a auto-select field. And going through the travel form, we have 2 versions, MSP1 and the self-serve. So for the MSP version, it simply has the organization drop down, whereas the self-serve doesn't have that. The purpose of this form is for your customers to have so that they can fill up this form themselves, and you can share the links to them. So in here, you can select the organization, the ticket. It creates a ticket if you don't provide it. Otherwise, it's going to update the logs for the provided ticket. You can select multiple users and multiple destination countries as well. Then the departure and return date. So during departure date, the policy will be activated, and then on the return date, the policy will get deleted. So I have prepared here an execution. So when you submit the travel form, it's first going to create the policy. It first retrieves your trusted locations, create the destination location, then creates the actual policy. So the policy is initially disabled when it is created. That's going to be enabled once the departure time arrives. And then down here, you just ticket generation tasks. So after that policy is created, it's going to process it if the departure or and or return date is within 24 hours. Otherwise, it's going to be picked up by the cron job, which basically lists all your policies that you have created, and then goes through each of them and then processes it. Here's the process sub workflow. So it has a delay until the departure or return date, then has some validation here. And then for during the departure date, it's going to simply activate or enable the policy that was just created, and then it's going to add the traveling users to a group that will basically exclude them to the the baseline block policies that we set up earlier. So it's essentially just moving these users from that baseline block policies to the new policy that we just created. And then for the delete, it's just simply the reverse of it, removes the group, deletes the CA policy, and does some cleanup. Here is how it looks like in the Entra Admin Center. This is the policy that I created a while ago. For the users, it's going to show here the traveling users. On network, it will say any network or location, and the excluded one, which is the travel locations and the trusted locations. And then for grant, it has block access. So what this basically all means is that for that specific user, it's going to block access for that user for any location. I mean, any network or location, excluding your travel location that was just created and your trusted locations in your environment. So in our case, we have one setup, so one appears here. And this is the ticketing for it. Once you create or submit the form, it's going to initially create this description. It's gonna contain the name of the policy, who submitted the form, the destinations, departure return date, and the users, then the execution link. And then once the departure date has arrived, it's going to log it here. And when the return date has passed, it's also going to log it here with the execution summary and some details. So yeah, that's basically how that works. So if you guys have any questions, just let me know.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or anything anybody wants to flag before we move on? JB?
An enhancement request for this CA policy. I know that Huntress just started releasing some write-back APIs, and it would be great if we could kill both in one fell swoop, right? Not just update the CA policy, but get the Huntress alert to stop.
Yeah, that's one of the features that we could take a look into in the future. Thank you.
Will?
I was just curious, what is it doing with the ticket while waiting for the departure and return date? Is it reopening it? Is it just creating the ticket, letting it sit there?
Yeah, so initially when you submit the form, it's just going to create it or update if you provided a ticket, and then it just let it sits there open, and it's just going to update it once the departure or return date has passed. It's just going to add ticket notes.
Dave?
So I don't see any approval process in this though. So right now, just anybody that has access to the form is allowed to submit their own travel requests.
Yeah, so currently we are assuming that the request has been already approved, and this is just for basically managing, or after approval you create the policies, and then it's going to be automatically handled after it was approved. So the approval process is not part of this, but it can be added as a feature
Yes.
if
Yeah, we did something similar before the crate was a thing. We did set it up with an approval process using the email point of contact system to confirm button temporarily until we do something else. But that way the clients can approve their own travel requests from an administrator in their organization.
Yeah, so we can also integrate that approval process in this crate if that's a requirement for that's popular.
Thank you. And Lisa had a really good, or sorry, Lisa, Linda had a really good point in the chat as well. You could easily make a wrapper for that for the approval process first too. It's a good idea. All right, so now we are going to jump over to Clea. Clea with our education update and our Chief Baby Officer update too.
Hello, hello. Chief Baby Officer is moving up to the Todd 1 room next week. That is Toddler 1. We have a walker. She's pretty much leapt from like sitting on the floor to running down the hall and downstairs at full speed. So it's a fun time in this household. I shared a link to our training updates, and I'll go ahead and share my screen to go through some highlights. But while I get there, I always love doing this in our Friday education team meeting and wanted to open up to folks at Open Mic. Share something you learned this week. Ideally something about Roost, but anything goes, and I look forward to seeing what you learned in the chat. I'm doing the awkward teacher pause where I'm actually going to pause until I see one thing that someone learned. I learned that if I'm previewing an org in a form and I don't click out of that and I try to update my form, I'll lose all my work. And I learned that like 25 times this week. So, you know, sometimes you learn the same painful lesson over and over. We know what Kelvin learned, absolutely. I might have just texted my friend who works at Microsoft like, hey, I know someone famous. Also, we are sorry. Anyway, all right, let me go into training updates, and then I'll go back into a little bit of learning and go back full circle to what George started this open mic with. Automation, MSP, where do you start? How do you get going? I promise I have a story there, and I have a half-baked slideshow that I was building behind the scenes during the marketplace demo. So here we go. Business as usual. We have revamped a page. Apologies to Jen Miller, who was meeting with a customer and was like, Clea, I think you broke something. So, you know, ideally we're doing things in a test environment, but I decided to gamble and do it live. If you are in Cluck University and you navigate to the search courses page, we gave our little filter categories here a little bit of a facelift. And I'll tell you that personally, it took a lot of time, a lot of debate back and forth with Eddie, Lauren, other folks at Roost. Personally, we saw a barrier in what was there before of like beginner, intermediate, advanced, because what do those terms really mean? And, you know, we're all beginners at some point and we're all advanced in other ways. So open to any feedback, any recommendations here. But I think that if you are brand new to Roost or you have used it for 1,000,000,001 days, don't even know if that's mathematically possible. I was a French major, not a math major. But we've got new sections for you here. So if you want to learn things related to orientation and onboarding, tick that box. If you want to do it live, well, we don't have any live courses about that, but take some on-demand courses. If you want to focus on pre-built automations rather than building your own, we're now servicing more of those courses right here so you can find what you need. You can go back to things. And as always, you can track your progress in your profile. I am never going to complete everything that I sign up for, but I have full intentions of getting back to some of these courses next week, like Boolean logic and comparisons. That would probably help me out as I'm working on a workflow wrapper course. So go give that search courses page some love and let us know what you think. Shout outs to folks who got certified in the past week. For Roost Foundations, we have Marcus, Ethan, Skylar, Phil, Agnes, Abigail, Kyle, Edward, Alex, Anthony, Jose, Aaron, and Manuel for getting certified in Roost Foundations. Welcome to the Bird Brains channel in Discord. And And stay tuned because some of those bird brains are getting a sneak peek at some courses we're building behind the scenes starting next week. For clean automation, our second certificate currently available. Congrats to Phil, Marcus, Skylar, Anthony, Abigail, Gaston, Edward, and Austin. Everyone is learning and we love to see it. Documentation updates. Of course, Cluck University is a great place to learn, but we've also got docs. And docs are continuously fed to our robotic overlord, Robo-Roosty. So Robo-Roosty and docs now know about updated information on our Google Workspace integration, ConnectWise PSA agreement, something, JSON path. I'm not going to pretend I know what that even means, but we've got it documented so I could learn if I needed to know. And there's more to come here, of course. I'll also say that until I saw this in our page today, I thought traveling employee CA crate meant California. And I'm like, why are we only focusing on California? What about Colorado employees like me? Now I know. Now there's a doc for it. Go check it out. Yeah, it's not just you, Jen Green. All right. And ask George, do I have like 3 to 5 extra minutes or are we tight on time? I want to do my best storyteller Eddie presentation and share a sneak peek of upcoming courses, but I can hold or go back at the end.
Oh yeah, you've got a couple minutes. Go for it.
All right, sweet. Yeah, Eddie makes the best presentations and he did not make this one, so no judgment here. You know, if you've taken Roost Foundations, that we preach these 3 principles to getting started. And I think you might have even seen a heavily pregnant me in a video talking about that. That was a long time ago. And now that baby again is running. And shout out to Jeanette in our marketing team, because she kind of made me fall on the floor and think that I've been doing it all wrong. And just threw my brain for a loop, but I promise I have a point here. So we preach starting small and simple when you get going with automation, right? You don't want it to be overwhelming. You want it to be approachable. You want it to be cute, like this little Chihuahua dog. Keep it small and simple. Jeanette told me, no, start big and bold. And she heard this from some like industry leader at a keynote speech or something. So it's something you want to pay attention to. And I get it. I mean, we see, as Linda has informed me, our own Linda Kraft automation strategist, customers want to get going with crates like new user onboarding. That crate does a lot, but it's going to solve a big pain point. So I saw kind of a tension between start small and simple or big and bold, like this Great Dane. And ultimately, I think, why can't we do both? And we can. Our Chief Operating Officer, Mike, often talks about eating an elephant, and I don't like that because elephants are really smart and they're cool. So we're not going to eat elephants, but we're going to think about it like climbing a mountain. How do we get to the top of a mountain? Well, one step at a time. And if it's snowy outside, you know, put on some spikes and grab some poles and be careful out there. And this theme is what 2 of our upcoming courses address in their own unique ways. We are tackling something big and bold, but we're starting simple because we need an achievable, doable way to get there. And we want to test a small part of the process, make sure that it's built well, make sure that it can scale well. That is what's going to take us to, you know, Great Dane victory. No offense to all the Chihuahua fans out there. And what you see in my half-finished slide and shoddy screenshots here is on the left, we have a snapshot of our billing reconciliation course. It uses the billing count report crate to get information about what you're billing your clients for. And then it runs a completion handler workflow. So crate runs, then this next thing kicks off. And it starts to do some math and work behind the scenes to reconcile counts of licenses between what you have in your RMM. Ninja 1 is what we use in our course, and what the fabulous Eddie actually set up in our demo environment. No small feat, as anyone knows, if they've integrated their RMM and mapped it to all their customer orgs. Eddie did the thing. Thank you, Eddie. And your PSA. And yeah, it's not the whole billing reconciliation process, and we're not even doing it for all clients right away. So what you see in this workflow, this completion handler workflow, is a sub-workflow. All of that relates back to the theme of starting small and simple. We're doing it for one client, reconciling their data, and we can scale out from there, right? We can use with items in a sub-workflow, et cetera. If you've been through Roost Foundations, you know. If you know, you know. And then from there, like, this is not even the finished part. We could not just focus on license data and reconciling that. We could add in parts about, I don't know, antivirus things. So it's all about finding a starting point that you can test out and growing from there. Similar story on the right. I think it was last Friday that I demoed the workflow wrapper. Huge shout out to Joe from Marketplace, who you got to meet today and who does very much carry a Weasley twin resemblance. But Joe actually made some significant usability and visual updates from my perspective to the Microsoft user onboarding crate. Now you're not like, what the heck is Entra versus Azure versus M365? Like, things just make more sense. And I rebuilt some stuff to align terms in our demo. But similar story here. We want to run the Microsoft user onboarding crate. We want to handle it a little bit differently. In this upcoming course, we will show you how to enable a client to self-serve their own onboarding requests. We're starting small and simple with one client. You can scale out from there, and then you can even go more advanced. So not for the scope of that course, but a future one. Shout out to our own Ray from Roost, who taught me that you could actually set up org variables for a lot of what we're starting to do here to even improve the process further. So it's always an ongoing journey. We look forward to sharing those courses with you all and to always doing both, aiming big and bold, but starting small and simple and having fun and learning a lot along the way. That was a lot of talking. Back to you, Ash, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Clea. Honestly, I love that. For anybody who didn't read the chat, Jeanette said she heard the idea of go big from business leaders at a leading fin service and life sciences companies. Rather than start small, they are starting big and bold to capture the big results. They picked big use cases to automate that they had big impact to their own company goals, and so that they could go big, get big value, and then scale their program. And we can relate that so well into exactly what Clea said, and with the MSP automation. And when we're thinking about how we think about our automations, that doesn't actually even change really the process, right? That just, it's a motivation to be used like a yardstick, really, to like help you map out where your milestones need to be, figure out all of the things that where the components are, and then, you know, what needs to be reused. Speaking of yardsticks, our very next speaker is Brad. Brad, are you Canadian by any chance?
Yes, I'm from Edmonton, or
I thought
located
so.
in Edmonton, I should say.
I used to do some work on an old, long time ago for Yardstick Technologies way back when for consulting stuff. Well, all right, can you tell us a little bit about what you're going to demo for us today?
Sure. So what I'm going to demo here is we use Automate for our RMM, and we've had the age-old issue with machines falling out of Automate, but still being very active. And we utilize Automate for our billing and compliance. And so basically, if a machine falls out of Automate, it's not very good. So the workflow I'm going to demonstrate to you today, it's not done, but it is functional. It identifies computers that have fallen out of Automate and brings them back into Automate automatically via control or ScreenConnect, depending on when you started using ConnectWise. So what we're looking at here is basically one of two workflows. I have a sub workflow down below that I'll go over. But here we have our first workflow, our sub workflow. It just pulls all of the machines for a client out of Automate. And then down below we have, I call this the set list. So I just group them. I have offline in Automate, online in Automate, and then just all. So here's a little example of what that looks like. And then I pull all of the computers out of ScreenConnect, and then I sort them based off the company name. So in ScreenConnect, they have custom properties that you can target. And I should mention I built this workflow off of the crates for identifying offline servers between Control and ScreenConnect. So that's where this command came. I just went in and expanded it to also include workstations. And then once I get these two lists, I then have some comparisons down below. So remove online Automate. This gives me all of the computers that are disconnected from Automate, but online in ScreenConnect. So this compares the online control to the online Automate. And then if they're found in both lists, it removes it. So then whatever I'm given after is what's online. And then this one is to give me what's offline in Automate. So offline in Automate is, they're offline in Automate, but online in control. The reason I wanted this list is because there's two paths it can take. If I scroll down a little bit further here, then the next step is a list evaluation. So the service restart attempts to give the Automate service a kick. This is straight out of the crate. This was already pre-existing. But I realized that it gave that kick through a PowerShell script. Once I realized it was a PowerShell script, I realized I could do virtually anything with it. So I kept this the same, let it do its delay, go back up. It runs the check again. And then we take the second path. The second path now will actually reinstall Automate, which this is the workflow that I created. So it starts here. Oh, I should show you what it inputs. So when it goes into the sub workflow, it passes along some information from the list. It gives it the names, so the computer name, the control session ID, and the Automate site name. The reason I wanted the site name is because of the parameters for the script, which we'll go into here. So it starts, it goes into the get Automate location ID. If for whatever reason it fails, because some of our site names weren't set correctly and they include characters that the API doesn't like, it then grabs the first and last word of the site name and then gets it based off that. It just looks for it contains this and this. And it filters that by client ID and Automate. And then the next thing it does is it gets the extra data fields in Automate and it grabs a couple in particular. So it grabs the installation token and it grabs the token expiration. This is for the install script further down. And then we have a check in place. If all of the fields are valid, it will continue. So it'll attempt the reinstall. Or if the token is expired or the token is empty, it will run the Automate script to set that token. So it'll get a computer ID from that site. It doesn't matter which computer, it just needs one. It will execute the script. There's a slight delay. And then I have a check here to confirm that the script actually executes. because I realized that I could potentially have a never-ending loop here if it just kept testing and checking. So there's an exit here. If it failed, it'll just end the script there. I'm probably going to put some sort of notification on this to actually notify me if this failed. But for the time being, this was just to stop it from breaking roost. And then this continues on, and then it'll do it again. And once everything is successful, it will then go to reinstall automate. So it passes a PowerShell script, which I will show you it right here. I just got to move. This is the PowerShell script that it passes to the machine. So you can see here, I set my variables. We download a expression or a function from GitHub. And then this is the actual install command here. And then I have a test execution here. In total, this thing takes about 10-ish minutes to run from start to finish. So I didn't want to show it live, but I prepped it. So what you'll see here is we get the automate computers. We'll set the less, get the machines from ScreenConnect. And then this is where you get the results. So you can see some of the information it passes along. And then this is empty because there's nothing in the list. And then it takes the path of reinstall automate because there's no point to restart the service because it's no longer listed in automate. So then it goes into the reinstall, which I have the reinstall right here. So here you can see it goes into automate location ID. It grabs the ID right there. It then grabs all of the data fields. This one, I forced it to take this path because I wanted it to demonstrate what it looked like here. And this was the token expired. I set it to expire last year. So it realized the token expired and it took this path. And then it executes again. It goes into here. Script is successful. And then it ends. In the event where this script fails, because it does from time to time, in my other workflow, I have it create a ticket on our board and then end the workflow. So, and then I also tell it to give me the PowerShell command because 9 times out of 10, it's just sitting on a reinstall. Or sorry, not a reinstall, a file prompt. Like it wants you to overwrite the uninstall. But yeah, that's more or less the workflow. Once it's done here, it finishes and it's done. Are there any questions on this?
While people are thinking about their questions, how the default one, how long did this take you? Like, what were your iterations there?
Like the one like this one or this one here?
Oh, yeah, just in general, kind of like how, like putting this all together, what would you say your time spent was?
Probably around 25 to 30 hours to get it like finished. So, or at least to get it to this point here where it's basically automated to this extent. I would like give this reinstall command probably about a 30%, sorry, like about a 75% success rate in the reinstall. I'll show you actually what the, this is basically, if it prompts you with this, you know it's stuck. It'll just sit here forever. So I have to figure out how to deal with this in the script yet, but.
It's really impressive. Dave said, if you're ever interested in migrating from Automate to Ninja, he has a workflow to do it for you.
Honestly, it is something that I've considered a lot, but right now it's not in the cards for us. We're stuck with Automate for another year, so.
Awesome. Well, that's really cool. Thank you very much. Any other questions? I think we have got 6 minutes left, which means that we're not actually going to have time to show you guys Nick's fun. We'll have to tease that for next week. But that gives us some time for some questions. Anybody got anything that is on the mind, things they want to say? Questions, concerns, grievances, feats of strength?
I don't know. I think taking Microsoft down is a pretty big feat of strength.
Yeah, I do have one thing that I need to say. My wife is a family nurse practitioner, and yesterday the Microsoft outage was giving them a lot of problems in their office. And I told her, hey, tomorrow I'm going to be on a call with the guy responsible for that so I can give him some shit for you. So
Catalyst.
now I can say I did.
Catalyst, not responsible.
Exactly. I want to keep saying that it is not entirely my fault. It's just not. We were just the first domino. I didn't take Microsoft down. I just gave it the nudge.
Yeah.
I have a question about the workflow that was just presented. So what happens if you find a machine that's online in ScreenConnect but not in Automate?
Sorry, what was that question?
So what if you find that a machine is online in ScreenConnect but it's not in Automate?
If it's not in Automate, that was built into the here, let me reshare my screen here. So that was built into it. So it lists the Automate computers. It then sets the lists, like the groupings. So I have offline Automate, online Automate. And then this one here is meant to give me all of the disconnected computers. So in my demo, like my example execution, I had retired my computer, so I forced it out of Automate. So that's why it never took this path. It just went straight for the reinstall.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I have a similar problem with Automate and ScreenConnect, and kind of devised a similar solution, but on the ScreenConnect side, and essentially just looks to see if the Automate agent has been corrupted due to an agent upgrade or something like that. And then we'll reinstall the agent and align the agent count. So it's kind of like it's a similar workflow, but taking it from the ScreenConnect side instead of the Automate side. But that's cool.
And interestingly, I actually built this exact same system several years ago on the Automate side before we were ever into Roost. So basically the exact same functionality as ScreenConnect versus Automate checks and things like that. So this is all very familiar to me.
See, I asked ConnectWise if there was any way to check on, like, you think the two tools would talk because they're both ConnectWise, but at least there's nothing natively in Automate to compare it to to compare the counts.
That's
basically
true.
That's because they purchased them.
Most of the functionality of mine occurs through sending from an Automate script through an RMM Plus API call, which is an extension in ScreenConnect. So yeah, I had that same problem. Is they don't talk to each other very much at all. So you have to go through API calls to really get that done.
Yeah.
If I were doing it again, I would do it in Roost because everything all links together a lot better that way.
Well, I know too. It's sometimes a little daunting how many machines can fall out of it, especially if you have no sort of verification. But you miss 2 or 3 for each client, spread that across like over 100. It adds up in a hurry.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem with their products. Almost every one of them is something they purchased. They were never built together. So
yeah. 100%.
And things like Automate have been abandoned entirely, and they're going to ASIO, so it's never going to get updates.
Yeah, we've been in touch with one of their vendors, but it's on our roadmap to look into alternatives, but that's probably a next year thing. So
Well, we are at 3:58, insert time 58, which means that it is time for us to wrap up our day and say goodbye and enjoy our weekend safely. For anybody who is in snow, ice storms, be safe, be careful.